want him back.
Lord Vultare?
He's the one.
The one, T?
Talking about the movie Quest of the Delta Knights, and this one stars, you've got quite a good cast there, so check this out. You've got David Warner actually playing dual roles here. You've got Bridget Branner, although she is known as Bridget Connolly Walsh. She's a staple of many kind of like TV show. Olivia Hussey, Sarah Douglas, plus a few other kind of faces that you might recognise in kind of small roles here. Now, I have a little bit of a history of this movie because back in the kind of the days of VHS, I used to want to collect every single sword and sorcery and kind of fancy movie that I could find. And I was aware of this film, but I could never find it on VHS. I never literally found it on VHS. I don't know if it was ever actually released here in the UK. And it wasn't until the advent of DVD that I actually sort of came across this on an Australian DVD, but I had never actually watched it until now. So let's discuss Quest of the Delta Knights. Boy, was I disappointed with this one. Considering how long I was tracking this one down, man, this one was a letdown. So this is actually more of a kids' film than anything else, and actually takes place in the 15th century. So it's kind of later in the kind of in history, you know, historical fantasy, not really a historical movie by any stretch of the imagination. And essentially, we have the story here. The Delta Knights are the kind of the good guys, and they are keeping a secret, which ultimately can defeat the bad guy. Now, the interesting thing here is both the main bad guy and the main good guy, to a certain degree, are actually played by David Warner, but playing different characters. Why? Who knows? One hired just two different actor, but there you go. It is what it is. So he basically, David Warner's the good guy version of him at least, takes, you know, fosters this kind of small young boy who turns out he is going to be the kind of the key to, you know, defeating the bad guys. And there's a few other kind of like heroic characters that kind of join the movie as it progresses, as they get up to various hijinks and kind of like to try and kind of, you know, stop the bad guys. So is there anything good about this movie? If you are a young kid and it happens to be 1985, then you may like this movie. There are some, like I said, it's got some quite good cast members here. They're clearly having a lot of fun in this kind of highly campy role. So if you are a fan of, you know, B-movie actors like Sarah Douglas, etc., and obviously the late David Warner, you may want to check out this. I shouldn't imagine a lot of people have seen this film. However, the negatives on this film are, it's just crap. This is, you know, I'm not going to hold back with this one. This movie is just crap. The tone is all over the place. It literally, the comedy here is by far and away lowest common denominator humour, with absolutely abysmal juvenile humour. But I don't really think it's meant to be a kids' film as such, because there's scenes in a whorehouse, for example, and things like that. So I really don't know who this movie was actually made for. But you know, if you're possibly you know, have been in a car accident, and you know you've only got the kind of the mind of a 5-year-old somehow, and you know, but you're actually an adult and you like fantasy films, then maybe this would be for you. I mean, it's a hard film to track down nowadays, but god damn, I mean, the plot's just all over the place. The characters are just uninteresting cardboard cutouts. It's just way too campy, way too sort of silly, and there really isn't anything to kind of like to really kind of say anything good about this film at all. This one is a complete rubbish movie. You know, I always try to kind of look for some positives in these things, and it's not to try and rile on a movie too much. But sometimes you find a movie that is simply irredeemable, and this is one of those. I mean, it's a weird kind of setting as well. Nothing can really make sense. There's some funny flashbacks, I suppose, to Roman times and things like that, but man, this is a really bad one. So don't bother with this one if you're a fantasy movie fan. You know, there are far better. Hell, this one makes Deathstalker look like the Godfather. Anyway, I'm going to give this movie a 2 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to you next time. Bye for now.